This coming Sunday, the Sunday after Pentecost, is a weird one, a beautifully, wonderfully weird one in our pattern of worship. It's always the Sunday we mark out to celebrate and to focus on the Holy Trinity. Unlike other festivals, other special days in the church's year that are centered on a story from the life of Jesus, like Christmas, which is about the birth of Jesus, or Easter, about Jesus' resurrection, other moments that are high points in the story, the life story and ministry of Jesus. Holy Trinity Sunday, you might say, is the only day in the church's year that's really about the character, about the being of God. It's about a teaching about what Christians believe about God. And that might seem, that sounds very dense and very complicated. And why is it so important that we talk about the Trinity? Why is that important? Plenty of theologians and faithful Christians over the centuries have offered their own ways of talking about it. I won't pretend to say you can get it all in just a few minutes. But I would say at the heart of the question of why does it matter to say God is three in one is to say what we've come to understand about God is that God can be everywhere all at once, which is to say God is beyond us, right? Often people talk about God being up. We know God doesn't literally live at a certain elevation above the ground, but God is beyond us. So out there, we sometimes talk about God being, in heaven or in God's realm. Okay, yep, God is beyond us, transcendent. God is so far beyond what our minds can grasp. That's important to say. Yes, God is beyond us, and in that sense, other and beyond our understanding even. And at the same time, we've come to believe that in the story of Jesus, in the life and words and actions, the death and resurrection of Jesus, God came and shared a human life, that God knows from the inside, you might say, what it is to be in relationship with us, what it is to be one of us. That's different from God is just up there looking at us from a distance like the old Bette Midler song. It's about God being among us, with us, in the historical particularity of a person who lived and walked on this planet in a particular place, who had particular friends and had a certain height and a way he dressed and favorite foods, all those kinds of things. God knows what that is like. God has taken on humanity. That's the second thing that it means to say we believe in the Trinity. God is beyond us, but God is with us in Jesus. And at the same time, God isn't just distant in the past, and God isn't just above us and beyond us. The Christian claim is that by the Holy Spirit, God dwells within us as well. So we aren't just looking for God somewhere far away, or that God is like the Watcher in the comic books who observes all the things going on in the universe but can't interfere. God is not just beyond us, but with us in Jesus and in us as near as our own breath. And all three are true at the same time. That's the heart of the Trinity. That it's not that God shifted and for a while was distant and then walked around in Jesus, then changed plans again and came to be with us in the Holy Spirit like a warm, fuzzy feeling in our gut, but that God always, simultaneously, is always this relationship of the three, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. And that God's existence is already this communion, this community, you might say, of persons, the three sort of interweaving and in relationship with each other all the time, so that there's not a need on God's part to make us out of loneliness. That's the other thing that I think is so important to say about why Christians insist on the idea that God is triune, God is three in one. That means that God's not like a lonely old bearded fellow from the Sistine Chapel or from the old pop song by Joan Osborne, about being an old man who's lonely and needs to make creation because God's lonely. That's not the Christian story. God doesn't say, I'm all alone, I want to make somebody to love so that I won't be so alone. I'll make a universe. God's existence is already perfectly complete and content in the relationship already between Father, Son, and Spirit. God beyond us and God with us and God in us. God doesn't need to make creation so that God won't be lonely. God makes us out of sheer, extravagant, overflowing love, because the party wouldn't be the same without us, but that's different from saying God's lonely and needs us. The Christian claim is that God's very being is love, so that God's own existence is already the relationship between Father, Son, and Spirit, and then God makes room, you might say, for us, for something that's not God to exist as well, and for us to be in relationship with that God, so that at every moment of our lives, we can rightly think about God being way beyond us, being so far, more intelligent and seeing things and experiencing existence outside of linear time like we do. God's beyond us, but also God has shared what it is to be human and all of our fragile messiness, and that God dwells within us by the Spirit. All those things true all at the same time. That means there really is never a moment in our lives that we are outside of God's presence, whatever you face this week. We're going to explore more deeply what it means to believe and to confess this God of ours is triune, and why that makes a difference for how we face the world as we step out into it. So join us this coming Sunday. See you then.